Are you?
Sweden, so I just arrived.
Have you been following the debate in Sweden? Is it?
Oh yeah. I'm a gender professor.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, I'm so.
What's your position in terms of trans rights, human rights, trans women and women? Do you how do you define a woman?
How you define a woman?
Yeah.
It's up to you. If you want, how do you want to define yourself?
Okay, but do you not think that that's? If I said I was black,
That's of course you can't say that.
Why can't I say I'm black, but I could say I was a man if I wanted to?
No, because how you feel in your body about your organs.
Okay, but maybe skin is an organ of the body, and I don't feel like I've got black skin.
I know where you.
Why is one acceptable and the other one isn't? I don't understand it. And you're the professor in the
No, not just in that. This
so
is,
why can't I say that I'm black if I feel like I'm black?
Yeah, but that's not the same.
Why isn't it the same?
I don't know. Because if you're not uncomfortable with your gender, you can.
I'm uncomfortable with my race. Like Rachel, have you seen Rachel?
And,
have you heard of Rachel Dolezal?
Uh,
She's a woman in America and she's white, but she wants to identify as black. And she says that she feels very distressed. She's got a history of trauma with her white family, and she just wants to be black. So I just if she's distressed, why can't
when
she?
you are liksom in the start of going to change your gender, you have to go in therapy and you don't feel comfortable, and maybe you're going on hormones, and later on maybe you do the operation if you want that. So I think you can't operate your skin.
Well, you can though. I know people who've like
dye their skin. Exactly my area, because I'm a historian.
And maybe you could like get your nose. You can have surgery on your nose, so you superficially look like the opposite sex. Why do you think it's such a taboo to say I can be a different race? I identify out of my race because I don't feel comfortable, but women can just be identified into, but you can't identify into, being black, being disabled.
You also have the history of to be black, of course.
Well, women have a history, don't they?
Oh, and women too, of course. And you have to have an intersectionality analyze on it. I don't know if I'm telling the right word now.
Like an intersectional analysis.
Yeah, exactly. And so.
What does intersectionality mean?
When you're doing an analyze in something, you have to look at the women, the black, maybe if you're functionality,
so you could do it
class.
So you could do it from the position of, if I want to become a black man, I could look at positionality of like what the class issues. I don't understand how it's possible for a man to say that he wants to be a woman when we have a really big history of women's oppression. We couldn't even vote until about 100 years ago.
I know.
And that's a similar oppression to what black people face. But any man can just say I'm a woman, and then we all have to accept it. And
I don't think it's so easy.
Well, it is, because that's what the law said. That's what the law. This is what started it, was the debate around self-ID, and that people thought they could just make a declaration, and then that would mean that they were actually the opposite sex.
Okay, I think it's a little bit different in Sweden. You have to go to court.
Okay, but on what basis? On what basis does a man like say that he's a woman? Like, how does it work? Is it about how he dresses, or is it about chopping his willy off?
Okay, that's not my field is historic from historic, not just right this, but always inside often it's a feeling of disharmony with the gender.
Okay, but that's quite a subjective feeling though. So anybody can say it. Is it possible for me to say to a man, I know you feel that way, but you're behaving in quite a masculine manner, and I don't perceive you as a woman because you're not acting like a woman. You don't give me any vibes of female. Exactly, that's what I mean. What does it mean to live? Because this is the
know,
law, live as a woman, isn't it? And I don't know if it means wearing dresses and skirts, or I don't know, like putting on lipstick and being like feminine, or does it mean doing all the housework? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just think these blokes come along and they think being a woman is about looking a certain way. A way that they've learned, which is basically sexist stereotypes that they've seen around them. And what do they know about being a woman? I just don't think that reality is the subjective experience. I think it's a mixture of the subjective, but then external reality exists.
Yeah,
and we have to have some sort of objective measure, and I feel like male and female is quite an objective thing. You talk about race and say that's not possible, but I mean, there's a lot less difference between the races than there is between the sexes. Actually, race is a social construct in many respects, where the female biology is it's there. Male biology, female biology, that's never really changed throughout evolution, really, has it? Well, we've evolved from,
Yeah, and you can
but we've had male and female, but
born with testicular, even if you're a woman.
Yeah,
Also,
you can have an intersex condition.
Gender.
But looking around this park, I think we could be pretty accurate with saying that's a man, that's a woman.
Absolutely.
I mean,
but I'm not so good at this, so I don't know how to pronounce it. But often it's a feeling that you don't belong.
What feeling is it?
Okay. I think it's difficult to talk about some others' feelings, but it's a long way. You have to go in therapy and you meet.
What about people that haven't gone in therapy and just want to identify? Do you need to go to therapy to become a woman?
Actually, I don't think that's such a big problem. Is it? Is there so many people who wants to say? I know we have a little debate about that in Sweden, but is it a big debate here?
It's a massive. Well, you can see they've all these men turn up. When we try to argue about it, they just want to shut us down. If you'd like to come over to the other side and hear women talking about it, around here there's a big, like a talking circle around. So I would just suggest to come and hear from the horse's mouth, really, rather than me telling you like this is my perception of things and what I see. But I think this is quite a sizable amount of people to turn up to a few women who just want to talk about single-sex spaces and why they don't believe that men can be women if they say I'm a woman or if they feel like a woman. I just, like.
Yeah. Of course, you can't say, Sarah, if you're a man or I am a woman and go to the ladies' rooms
yes, you
in
can.
Sweden. No, not in Sweden.
Well, what? I mean, you say that they should be able to, though, because you say that it's a feeling, and if you feel incongruous,
then also often. It's more than that.
What do you think about women, often marginal women, for example, immigrant women, women from Muslim backgrounds, or Jewish women who can't share spaces with men, even if they've had the surgery and they say, and they've had all the therapy, and they now have to self-exclude from those spaces to include those men? Do you think that's a bit unfair on those women that now can't have equal access to the public sphere as everybody else can? Because they can't use toilets or spaces now, can they?
Is it a big problem here?
Yeah, because we've got a lot of Muslim women in the country. It's 3.6 million women, and I think that's a lot of women to exclude because some men feel a bit unhappy about being men, And I think people haven't really thought about the impact on other groups and the fact that women existing as women is quite important for a lot of women of faith. It's really important for lesbians. A lot of lesbians now are being abused for being lesbians by their own movement, by their own dating apps, so we don't want anything to do with you. I mean, how can you be a lesbian if you have a penis? It's ridiculous. And we're being told that if we don't accept that we're Nazis. And to me that just sounds like, anti-gay sentiment, like defining us by what we're not and then telling us if we don't go along, they turn up and do this. So, I think there's a lot more to it when you break it down and start looking at how important it is. These definitions, the notion of being an actual woman is important to a lot of women. And like I say, if you want to come round, we're not going to buy a pretty friendly bunch and just have a listen to some of the women giving personal testimonies about how it has actually impacted them in various ways.
I'm on my way. I'm just passing here. I live there over there.
Okay,
today,
yeah.
So no, I'm just passing through this.
Okay, yeah.
It's the first time here, so I did.
If you fancy it, we're just
Sorry?
If you fancy it, we're just over there anyway.
Yeah, okay, but I'm on my way. I have to go.
Okay,
so.
yeah, well,
Nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you.